Well, welcome everyone. We are back for session number 2 of Productivity Power Hour. And today we're here to we're breaking away from our sort of streak of having Obsidian related content. And now we're actually going to look at something new when it comes to productivity space and a note taking app that has been on my radar for quite some time. But it wasn't until recently when chatting with a friend and she was bringing up ideas around space repetition and stuff that I was like, oh, I should probably really spend time to see what else is out there in the note taking space. So, what we're going to talk about today is RemNote. And so if you haven't heard about it, we're going to go through from beginning to end. Basically, this is a first reaction with RemNote because other than signing up for an account and I think downloading the app, I've done basically nothing else with it. So no import, haven't really explored the UI. And so we're going to get to go through that together. And then y'all feel free to ask questions as you're going along. And then more importantly, let's see what's going on out there. So with that said, let's get started. All right. I think we're good here. Did everything update? Everything did. Fantastic. Okay. So what is RemNote? That's the first question, right? And so RemNote sells itself, as you can see here on its landing page, as the all-in-one tool for thinking and learning, which is a pretty big claim, right? Because in a sense, like we have a lot of tools right now for note taking. So note taking often facilitates thinking. And then often you think it also facilitates learning. So the really question is, what's the difference? So let's see, even just in this description alone, we see flashcards. I see Prince in the chat. Yep, we've been having conversation about it. So for those wondering, it seems like there's this design trend going on where they highlight the thing they want you to pay attention to in some sort of gradient color. And if you start paying attention to a lot more of the recent apps and like landing sites, marketing pages, this seems to be just like everywhere. It's like once like Prince and I started talking about it, I started seeing it everywhere, which is so funny. But anyhow, so the key thing here actually, if we think about it, because for those who have been following me for a bit, you know that I'm also a big fan of Obsidian. So of course, one of the things here that we're talking about, PDFs, backlinks, all of this, help you organize, think, like Obsidian can help you do that. But here, flashcards is interesting because, which we're going to get into, there's a lot about learning that might seem obvious when it's sort of like presented. But anyhow, we'll show you what I mean in a second. Okay, so here we have a little screenshot of the UI. I mean, looks fairly clean. In fact, reminds me a bit of Notion. You know, you have your left nav bar. Yep, okay, that's fine. So you can see here that the sort of like your typical app endorsed by clients are mostly educational institutions. So you have Harvard here, Oxford, Stanford. I'm gonna assume that's MIT. So those are pretty reputable brands. And so even OpenAI is on here. So okay, that's pretty cool. And so it looks like the personas they're looking at are about students, researchers, and professionals. And I think that's really interesting that it's in that particular order because I think note-taking is often, if we think about it, done for a more generalist feel, right? Because everyone takes notes. And so typically we think, okay, well then the people who take notes are typically professionals. That's who I would think you would market it to first. And so it's interesting already. So we already see the audience is already, which is good. It's not a bad thing. It's good that it's clearly slanted more towards the learning because we have students and researchers as the first thing. And so as we're learning basically ways for us to be more effective at the things we do and the ideas that we manage, it'll be interesting to find out what RemNote does differently. I see here in the chat from Tony Stark, probably, flashcards equals high cognitive effort and the highest memory utility, whereas note-taking is low cognitive effort and high memory utility. That is an interesting comparison. I would say the nuance I would go with the note-taking, it depends on how engaged you are with the material. So for example, for note-taking, if you're just like rote copying things, I think that's low cognitive effort. But if you're taking the time to not only reword it and then add additional context in order to make it stickier, I think that you have a higher cognitive effort. With that said, though, I think to Tony Stark probably's point, the thing with flashcards is you really are put in a position where you have to recall the information. And this is something we'll be talking about in a little bit as we go through RemNote. So, all right, so what do we got? Okay, so notes, docs, outline. Okay, great. I mean, we already can do that. Okay, so this is interesting. It's saying it can replace any of these tools right here as far as OneNote, this is Google Doc, Notion, Obsidian, Roam, Evernote. It can do all this. Okay. Sounds good. What else you got? Okay, here's the big thing here. I'm surprised this is not first, to be honest, is that it can do smart flashcards. And so creating flashcards directly from your notes. This is fascinating because what we're seeing here is that they're saying that there's learning science getting higher grades while spending less time studying. So once again, you hear that the vernacular and the verbiage going on here is really geared towards the academic. And does not necessarily disqualify professionals, if you think about it honestly, because aren't a lot of us, especially, I can at least speak for those in the technology field, a lot of us are in here like constantly learning new things. So while we're not necessarily studying for grades in the traditional sense, a lot of us are like taking the time to learn a new library, reading over docs and learning new methodologies for doing things, right? And so how many times do we learn something and then forget it later on? And so in that regard, I would say there is probably actually a lot of value in the flashcards for us, especially as, again, specifically because I'm in tech, I'll speak specifically to tech professionals. We're constantly on the bandwagon of learning new things. So this is piquing my effort. And so what we can see here actually in this screenshot, oh, I like this. You can already see that they have like a built-in UI for how we're going to interact with flashcards. So I imagine this is the result of like saying, I'm going to assume, because we're going to play around with this later, right? We're going to do a live demo, is that it had like the term forgetting curve. And then the bullet dots in here indicate like the description or the definition, and then you would say like whether you remembered it or not. And then here it looks like we can add feedback to, oh, interesting, too soon, forgotten, recalled partially, recalled with effort, and immediately. And so this is interesting because what this is, if you're not sure why this metric even exists, is because what we have here is a way to give feedback to what I'm assuming is some sort of algorithm, right? Or even possibly AI. I don't know what's going on underneath the hood, where based on how you respond and give feedback about a certain concept, it will then change how much time it takes to then sort of bring that back up, right? Because a lot of times when we're learning new things, it's good to have frequent recall to be like, okay, do I actually remember this thing? And then as you get better at it, maybe they'll space it out a little bit more so that maybe rather than reminding you every single day, it might remind you in a week, for example, or then a month and so forth. Or then if something was had you on a monthly cadence and you start forgetting things, it'll bring you back into like a more frequent recall. And so that's kind of neat because I'm a huge fan of trying to remove sort of this administrative work from users as much as humanly possible. And this goes for just about any tool that's out there. Once you have something that you've established as some sort of algorithm or pattern that's really useful to people, it doesn't really make sense that the users have to go in there and manually change it, right? Because could you manually recreate this in a to-do app? Absolutely. You could just create like a little checklist that then reminds you every single day. And then you'll just make sure to like, when your to-do list comes up, you'll like check to see the notes to see if that's the right thing. And then you'll click it. But then you have to manage like the system and it's just a lot of effort, right? And so, okay, this I'm excited for. We're going to take more look at that later on. Let's see, easily highlight, reference, link all your source material, no application switching. Okay, I mean, Obsidian does that too. So, I mean, unless there's something very specific about its highlighting and how it links it. But that said, let's keep going. Okay, build knowledge that lasts forever. So one of the things I frequently talk about is the ability to own your own data. So it's nice to see here that they're already touting local only knowledge bases so that you don't have to commit to some sort of cloud subscription. I think this is really important. Don't get me wrong, as a technologist, like there are many advantages to having a cloud service and why it's like to some extent, it's kind of inevitable for anyone who's trying to scale and collaborate to end up sort of trusting someone with their data. But the point, the fact that they're at least on the marketing page selling us as local only, to me, this is good because at least it gives me comfort in knowing that they're not trying to own what I'm trying to do, at least up front. And then more importantly, they say you can easily export or import content directly from other apps. So this is good. I'm happy to see that. What's up, Cassidy? I see 503 server error is here as well. How's it going, everybody? Okay. So this is good. This is already giving me some buy-in into RemNote because they're following the sort of value and philosophy that I honestly strongly find an affinity to. Okay, lots of little, attributions here. Great. Okay, available on web, desktop, mobile. That's good that they have different apps. Although I do know they don't have apps on every platform just yet. So let's see. Let's go look at the downloads real quick. So as you can see here, it is cross-platform. So we have Windows, Mac, Linux, Android, and iOS is clearly coming soon. So not fully mobile supported just yet, but this is good. And then there's a RemNote Clipper as well. That's great. Okay, great. All right, so we've talked about a high level of what RemNote is, right? And so we can see that it's a tool that's geared towards students, sort of people who are learning and studying. And then on top of that, what we find here is that it's really big on this kind of idea of spaced repetition learning. And so we covered it kind of inadvertently earlier when we were talking about it. But for those sort of wanting to sort of take their notes on it, here, so let me open up Obsidian. So you thought you could have escaped Obsidian even on an episode where it's not about Obsidian. But spaced repetition is a term that's used a lot in the sort of educational space because there's a lot of people trying to figure out how to make information easier for people to understand and to remember, right? So adjectives are typically used with that, or like making things sticky, right? And so basically, we're taking information that you're trying to memorize or make very intuitive to yourself that you can call like immediately. And then you have to repeat that across some sort of increased interval that, again, has some sort of like scientific backing as far as like the frequency at which you recall, and then like changing that over time based on how well that knowledge is sticky in your brain. And so the analogy I like for that one is sort of like working out a muscle, right? So if you start out, maybe it's a lot for you to lift 20 pounds for a bicep curl. But then what you might want to do then is start with like 10 pounds because you're starting to work out that muscle. Over time, as that gets easier, you're going to change, you might change the number of reps you're doing. You might change the weight that you're doing. And so spaced repetition learning is around this idea too, in that as you're exercising your brain to memorize and learn these things, it can help you automatically adjust the number of reps that you need in order to hopefully help you maximize that learning output. So that is it at a high level. Okay. Now that we've covered the high level as far as like concepts and what RemNote seems to be targeting, let's actually go ahead and dive right into the app, shall we? So like I said, one of the things that I've done already is I've gone ahead and created an account. So let me just make sure that 1Password doesn't actually show anything that I'm not supposed to real quick. And then great, let me sign in. Okay, that was easy. Okay, so first thing first. The first thing I'm noticing is we are in a web app. And this is a little surprising to me because as I've been building little prototypes of things on my own for a side project that I hope to talk to you all about at some point, I'm noticing that the whole idea of local first doesn't seem to exist right now because, at least, again, this is first glance, right? If we're talking this is local only, when you start up Obsidian, your first thing is like, where does your data live? And clearly, at least based on this, right, I can create a new document. Let's go ahead and create today's document, right? Here's my first note in RemNote. This is great, but one, it did not ask me for permission to save it anywhere, which means I'm assuming it's being saved on the cloud. Oh, I see Connor in the chat. What's up? Okay, so that leads me to be a little bit concerned because it's like, okay, well, where's the local... what does it sell it as? Let me open up incognito so we can get to the landing page, remnote.com. I thought it said so that to me, I wish would be a little different. So yeah, it's funny. It sells it as a local only knowledge bases, but then clearly, at least the plan starts you out on their cloud service, which again, there's nothing wrong with that, right? So 503 here, asking question, maybe it's in local storage. So let's go to application, let's go to local storage. So we can see in RemNote, we have a bunch of different things being rendered out here, user tokens and whatnot. Again, I'm not terribly concerned about this being leaked, so I'm fine showing this. Again, to be very clear, I don't think this is necessarily a fault on the RemNote folks, because what I do think is that it's just that it's not local only first. Whereas, I think the way the marketing page lays it out, it almost seems like it is. So, yeah, okay, so Nunchi here in the chat. So, right, so there's this desktop app. So, actually, if I look at settings real quick, it looks like if I'm looking at syncing. Okay, so look, so syncing is built in. This actually already we can say is different from Obsidian in that Obsidian has you not only opt into, you have to pay for their cloud service. And so I think it's like $9 a month. And then that is a whole thing in and of itself. So Obsidian is clearly very truly local first in the sense that without you designating a folder where it's going to create everything, you're just not going to have any data. Here, you're already clearly bought into at least the cloud part, which is fine. Remember, there's nothing wrong with that. That's not according to my expectations, that's all. So let's go ahead and jump into the desktop app and see kind of what's going on there. So I have already downloaded this just to save us a little bit of time. And so here we go. I have RemNote here. It's going to go ahead and load. This is the desktop app. And then we're bringing it up. let's see, hopefully it syncs, right? Because we're on the cloud service. So we look at all my notes. Okay, we can see here that January 13th, it's a daily document. So, okay, that's the idea of sort of daily notes, timestamp notes, which is nice. I do like that. So the fact that that's built in without any additional work, that makes me happy. The only thing though now, let's go ahead and see real quick. If we go to settings here, for sync all files, fine. There's some, I think here, knowledge bases. Here we go. Create knowledge base. Actually, let me make sure this wasn't in the web app. Let me make sure this is not a desktop only thing. Let me bump them side by side. Settings. Yes. So knowledge bases, which kind of makes sense. Although having played with the Chrome File API, which is something I actually do plan on playing with in a Build with Ben episode soon, I'm a little surprised this option to build a knowledge base locally isn't available, but granted, there may be performance bottlenecks that I'm not even aware of. So clearly, we can see now that at least a first glance difference is that if you want to use RemNote in a purely like local first way, then the only way you can do that is actually local first is technically impossible. The moment you sign up for an account, you are kind of bought into their cloud service, at least to start. And then you have to be more intentional. So we can see here, we can create okay. So I see here in the chat from Cassidy, so something worth mentioning. So there's not exactly a diverse team working on this. Okay. So this is another thing that's actually, when we think about tooling, and as I think technology becomes, I think it's become a rather integral part of a lot of people's lives. One of the tricky things we find ourselves when it comes to software, and I can say this as someone who's honestly deeply entrenched in a lot of software and apps, is you start getting to a point where you talk about sort of where your support and time is going as far as software goes. And so I guess a good analogy for this is actually so a trend that's happened sort of, especially in my generation, that didn't exist before is the idea of sort of like farm to table restaurants. All right. So to Cassie's point, we were sort of talking about, I was talking about the analogy of restaurants, right? And as far as like supporting software. And one of the things I'm hoping to see is that a lot of times the new software that's up and coming tends to, the teams that tend to found it, I wouldn't say 10, I don't have the full statistics on it, but at least from personal experience, it seems to be that a lot of them tend to lack a bit of diversity when it comes to the founding team. And there are a number of reasons for this, right? Because, starting a company, building an app, it's complex. But one of the reasons diversity is important, especially as a company begins to grow and gain popularity, is because, as we all know, technology has wide implications across, it scales in ways that often we keep forgetting the scale of impact. And as a result, when you have a lack of diversity from different perspectives, your app fails to account for those things. And as a result, you never you end up in a position where you could end up causing harm. Maybe not intentionally, but as a result, suffice to say, obviously, for those of you who are looking to start your own companies or to build your own software, know that diversity in thought, and this is probably the key of all of it, right? Because just to double click into it just a little bit, is that diversity is more than simply obviously just having your sort of racial background or where you were born. There are a lot of other aspects of diversity, right? It could be, for example, economic background, how people grew up, right? Do people grow up poor? Do they grow up rich? That is a diversity in and of itself too, because for example, if you're building a financial app, those sort of being able to understand motivations from different economic perspectives can be huge implications in how you impact your users. Because say for instance, right, one of the things we've probably seen more in stores is the idea of cash only app. Oh, sorry, not cash only. Digital payment only stores, which you might think in one sense is oh, well, this is great, right? Because this means that people don't have to carry cash anymore. It's much safer. And there's a laundry list of reasons why people really like that. But it's important to acknowledge the trade-off of it, which is that some people, especially if they grow up in certain economic disadvantages, simply don't have access to those digital payment means. So for example, whether they might only have cash. And so all of a sudden you've alienated this customer base that can no longer actually purchase things. So anyways, this is a little bit of a tangent, but all this to say that basically to acknowledge Cassidy's point here is that, yeah, I hope that as apps start to grow in popularity and they start to gain market share, that they realize the importance of this diversity in thought and hope to basically augment their team in order to provide themselves additional perspectives in order to build the best product that they possibly can. So what we're looking at right now is basically creating our local first knowledge base with RemNote. And as you can see here, it looks similar to Obsidian in the sense that so you can see my digital rem garden, for example. And so interesting, look, you can either do local only or you can do synced. Well, if synced not supported, why does it exist? Seems like odd to have that option available to me. Anyhow, let's browse. So I'm just going to go ahead and open up on the desktop. Let's create a new folder. We'll call it Digital Rem Garden. And then great, let's open that up. So great, it shows me the folder path. And then, did that work? Settings, knowledge base. No, that didn't. What the heck? Digital Rem Garden, browse, open, create knowledge base. Okay, there we go. Now it's off and running. Okay, so okay, I see Dudeman in the chat. Integrated notes like having local first notes. Okay, so apparently when Dudeman tried it, there was no local. So okay, so this is apparently new, which to me, honestly, I think this is a good thing. I think the more apps we can see embrace local first, it's less about the fact that it's good for scaling, because in a lot of ways it isn't, right? You have everything on your own computer, and if you want to share things with people, collaborate, it's a nightmare there's problems with that. However, the reason why I think giving people spending the time to build that feature into apps is very, very important, at least to me, because it shows basically a sign of good faith that you really aren't trying to own their data, right? And you give people who might have concerns about being hacked or really just want that full privacy, who don't basically opting into your cloud service rather than being forced into it. That's basically what I'm... Sorry, reading the chat real quick. Okay, no worries, Jimena. I'll catch you later. Okay. And so just to complete that thought when I'm editing later. Yeah, so basically, local first, to me, is a feature that shows basically a sign of good faith on the developers and the apps part to users that they're really not trying to own your data. In that the moment you want to disconnect from their ecosystem, you have a way to do that in a way that's not basically contingent on the service being there. Because while we all can be very optimistic about certain apps being maintained for the rest of our lives, let's face it, that doesn't always happen. But let's just say, for example, we love RemNote. We have our notes in there inside of our folder or in their cloud service, but then for whatever reason they decide to shut down business. Well, guess what? All your notes are gone, the service is gone, and now you have to hope that someone out there in the kindness, in the goodness and kindness of their heart, will spend the time to build some sort of adapter for some new note app. And some people just don't need that. Some people, when they find something that works for them, they stick with it, and their workflow never really expands upon that, and that's okay, right? Like a calculator is still a calculator. If you just need to do addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, why do you need it to do a bunch of graphing stuff when you just, some people know what they need. Anyways. All right. So we have our digital rem garden here. And so what are we going to do? We're going to create some stuff because I want to see what happens. Okay, here's my today note. So this is my today note. Okay, there are bullets here. There are commands. So you can insert stuff. So what can I insert? I can insert. Okay, so this is very, very reminiscent to me of Notion, which is great. Not because... And I don't think Notion necessarily owns this pattern, because odds are, historically speaking, there's someone else who did this first. Nonetheless, Notion has popularized it. And more importantly, I like the pattern because it gives the option for those of us who are very inclined towards keyboard shortcuts and that kind of stuff to have the ability to do it. So, okay, let's just add, search for date. That's kind of cool. A little date picker here. I like it. January 10th is the day that we picked. That's neat. Okay, that's good. Now, here's my question, which is, what does it look like locally? So let's go and open this up. Let's go to desktop, digital rem garden, backups. Oh. Huh. Okay. All right, you know what? We're opening this in VS Code because I got to see what's in here. All right, so we can see that the cards is a JSON file, contains a user ID, knowledge base ID. That's fine. The name, export date. I understand all this. That makes sense. Here's the rem, user ID, knowledge base ID. Okay, that's fine. Space repetition scheduler. Wait, where's my note? I should have a note somewhere. That's totally what I'm expecting. All right, so I've created this file here. Here's my documents. Okay. This is a power-up document that provides daily document functionality. Okay, I guess this means that basically all your daily notes, your timestamp notes, are in this folder, I guess. So if we create, okay, let's just create like a new folder. How do I do it? A new document, Command N. Command N did not work. New document, blank document. Okay, first impressions of RemNote. And then what if I say, okay, let's tag it. Let's call it, how do I do this? How do I do tags? Source, toggle hidden tags, document, hide. Weird. I'm expecting this to be a little bit cleaner. The source. Huh. Why can't I tag it? Some +1? Hide. That's really weird. Okay, for some reason I'm already dealing with some clunkiness. Yeah, so dude, man, daily documents are not notes because similar to Obsidian, we are trying to just simply capture timestamps that it can then be referenced across. So in other words, let's see. So we're saying, can I do like today? Today is the time that I first explored using RemNote. Okay, great. So that's good. So what I'm hoping, they said they had backlinking and stuff, is that if I were to review later on, like what I did for the day. Okay, you can see here, this is actually they have this in Obsidian too on the right-hand side. So if you're looking at the equivalent of it, this is the linked mention piece. That's what the equivalent is. Rome also has it very similarly from a UI perspective. So you can see here that it's dropped at the bottom here as far as where it's been referenced before. So, okay, that's good. So the backlinking clearly works. That's good. And so again, once again, the timestamping is helpful here because now if we're ever like reviewing our month or reviewing a specific day, we can see that, hey, by the way, this was referenced inside of RemNote. So, okay, nice. You get that like linked thinking that we're used to from Obsidian already. Actually, a question now is like, we took notes on first impressions of RemNote. Okay, that was really clean. So let me do that a little bit slower. We took notes on square bracket, square bracket. You can see now it's looking for a rem reference, and then that's when you do your autocomplete. And this is cool because you can basically look at the various things. So that's nice. Let's see. So Dragon Dust here in the comments. At the moment, there are a ton of apps like this. Most of them are identical, basically Obsidian clones. Hello, hello. Yeah, so it does. So the reason why I decided to spend time on RemNote is because it does look like it aims to do something different from Obsidian, which we're going to be spending, I think, most of the time today doing once we get past like the basics of first impressions. And so particularly, again, it's a space repetition that I'm particularly interested in. So, dude, so this seems to be closer to Rome. It does seem to be that way, especially with the cloud syncing, and the whole UI is a little bit more similar to Rome for sure. Okay, so the only thing though now is like, okay, let's close this app. Maybe it like needs to like spend the time to write to the local file. So now that I've closed it, I'm assuming it's saved everything to my folder, which we're gonna find out shortly. All right, so I'm opening RemNote again. It's going to go ahead and spin. It's probably opening my local. Yep, it's opening my local document. Okay, great. Now, back to VS Code. What did we see in here? So this stuff is still completely empty. Why is it empty? This is weird to me, I'll be honest. I didn't necessarily expect them to have full markdown support the way like Obsidian automatically updates. Oh, do you have to update again? Oh, this is a great point. Okay, good point. Right, because the files are not being updated reactively. Although, look, it says date modified is 2/27. That's kind of weird. All right, let me go ahead and Yep. Back up. Maybe I have to manually. Oh, if I have to manually export, that'd be weird too. Why would you have to do that? Let me open this up in VS Code again. Everything is empty. Oh, this is rather sus. RemNote. Okay, let's check real quick. I have my settings. I have my knowledge base. Local knowledge base. Yep. Here it is. Update knowledge base? No. Oh, please don't tell me I'd have to manually update it every time. That's basically that means they're keeping everything in like a app memory storage. And so if I happen to forget to export, then like everything's a goner. All right, let's try this once again. VS Code, everything open, cards, rem docs. Did I do something wrong? Did something broken? I mean, I'm gonna go as far. I'm just gonna. Yup. Okay. Last modified 236. I'll be honest. I did not expect this to take that long. Maybe it saves the library application support. I mean, the thing though, dude, man, is that when you declare a knowledge base like this, also like that was. They need to update the UI for that because I would not have double clicked into that text unless I happen to be very, very familiar with software and just feeling like they probably just forgot to update the UI. Like you told me where you were saving things, right? Local storage location. And this is saying this folder stores a local copy of your daily backups and daily backups and uploads files. That's fine. So, okay, let's say I'm okay with manually updating it, right? Like I'm willing to go that far. Then this still has not been updated. So this weird. Try creating an card. Okay. Let's just jump into flashcards, right? So I think I saw that. Let's do a basic flashcard. The front of the card will be Obsidian. And then the back of the card is going to be a local first note-taking app. Okay, that's saved now. So now if I go to my flashcards, cool, I have Obsidian. I can fill in the blank. How do I fill in the blank? Oh, I fill in the blank. So I would say Obsidian is a local first note-taking app. I show the answer. Great, that's what it was. And then I would say I recalled it immediately. Oh, okay, here's the time split. So if it was too soon, basically like I'll recall it in an hour. I forgot immediately. So it'll basically do like in a minute, it'll basically be ready to kick off. Like whenever I'm ready to study again, it'll be part of the queue. And so I recalled it immediately. So that won't be good for another day. Hey, you passed your streak of 10 cards today. Keep going. Okay, that's cool. I like this. This is nice. Okay, so let's take a break. All right, so we can see here, update equals updating the name, and then it creates an artifact once a day. Oh, I hope not. That would be miserable, right? It's like, anyways, okay. So here we go. Local knowledge bases, digital rem garden. Once again, you see how like, okay, there you go. Now, oh, that's where it is? Oh, I did not expect that. Yeah, I expected like, if you're talking about UI design, I expected over here to see some sort of like edit, update, like some sort of button here. This almost looks like an accident, the triple dots here. Anyways, it's fine. Click open digital garden 2. That's fine. Update knowledge base. So I updated the knowledge base to have a new name. So this means then, theoretically, it renamed the folder, which it didn't. It hasn't touched it since 236. So once again, let's just open up the settings. Let's go to the knowledge base. Let's create another knowledge base because at this point, I just want to see what's in there. So digital rem garden 3. We're gonna browse the location, and this time, oh wait, of course it's not gonna update the folder name because it's the folder name is saved to this particular area, which is fine. So I can just create like again drg3 open. I will local only. I will. Oh, maybe that's what they mean by not synced. I see from I'm gonna say Luke, or maybe it's Luke Carter. Is RemNote similar to Rome? It seems like it from first glance. Yeah, it's in that sort of family of like Rome, Obsidian, RemNote, but with this particular emphasis towards students, which I think we kind of already saw a glimpse with the flashcards, but I want to see that a little bit more before sort of making a judgment call on that. So, all right. So we've created the okay, we're creating it. Oh, I think that's what they mean by sync. Okay, I'll explain in a second. Okay, here's my JSON zip. Here, let me open it in VS Code to show what we have. Okay, the cards are empty. The rem is empty. The space repetition is empty. Okay, that's not great. I'm a little disappointed because once again, so to be clear why I'm disappointed, I did not necessarily expect RemNote to automatically create a bunch of markdown files that have like every document is its own markdown file. And so like, I understand there are complications to the technical implementation of that, but clearly they're at least trying to export the JSON file, right? Like JSON I can work with, right? It's not perfect, but I think if you have someone do an adapter from a JSON file to another like format, it's a little easier to comprehend. But this is totally empty. So I see here. So we have Raphael. Hello, how's it going? Oh, it's so glad to meet someone who worked on an open classrooms. Been that actually honestly one of my favorite learning platforms to work with. They were absolutely great. I'm glad that you got to actually build Money Bank. Thanks so much for stopping by and saying hi. Yeah. Okay, let's see. What's the point of Okay, yeah. Okay. So Rafa, yes, again, thanks for stopping by. If you have any questions or want to chat other dev things, I'm happy to chat with you. I think Twitter DMs are open. And then on Tuesdays, we definitely do a lot of coding stuff. So if you ever get a chance, come hang out then on Tuesdays as well. Okay, so to Nunchi's point here, what's the point of a local knowledge base then? If you ask me honestly, I think this is a bug. If this were to work the way I think it would, okay, so again, the software, although why isn't it appearing in Raycast? Okay, so engineer software hat on. So what I'm assuming technologically is going on under the hood is that when you create a knowledge base at this point, you're basically saying, hey, create this new backup. It's going to be local first. And here's the thing. I think this is why they say it's not synced, is because the changes you're making inside of the knowledge inside of the app is not going to reflect locally. So in other words, it's an interesting term, this concept of syncing, because there's lots of different types of syncing. I assume the syncing they were talking about was like not syncing with cloud in addition to syncing to local, but this is like, and I think if anything, that's what they're referring to, the synced here. So it's really kind of funny, the language here, because I think they mean synced in two different perspectives. The problem, though, and the reason why I'm going to call this a bug, is because when you decide where to create your knowledge base, it seems like they're actually just letting you define a folder, but then they're not populating it with anything. And so the bug is most likely they're not reading the current state and not transferring the JSON correctly. And so, yeah, anyhow. I thought this would work a little bit differently. Like, to me, if this is... like, it kind of makes it hard to justify, or even like, it's kind of weird to sell the fact that there is a local only knowledge base then, because it doesn't feel like that to me. It feels like if I accidentally delete RemNote, the software itself, I have no artifacts that are basically going to help me out here. Oh, wait. Okay, hold on. I think I got ahead of myself. I think when I created a new knowledge base, it was empty by default. Okay, that's fine. Hold up. Before I confirm said bug, knowledge base here. This is the garden 2. Update the knowledge base. Again, I did this before, but again, this is what I'm assuming they're talking about. DRG here. Here's my that. Once again, it was last updated on the 20th. So I think something's wrong with their update. Nothing else seems to make sense, because again, I know that at least if we're looking back at the flow, the fact that I created a new knowledge base, of course that's going to be empty. I didn't create anything, but clearly this is broken. Okay. So Connor, Obsidian for life. Yeah, I mean, that I will say that is one of the things Obsidian did really well, is that, like, is Obsidian perfect? Absolutely not. There are lots of things that it requires, like there's a decent learning curve. There are things you have to sort of install in order to make it work the way you want. But at the same time, when you tell me it's local first, when you tell me that you have an option for local first or like local only knowledge, I expect at least a JSON file that is human readable, that I can go, okay, that's roughly my note. It might not be completely legible, but I should be able to make sense of it. And clearly we can see that in these 3 JSONs that were exported, there's nothing there. Okay, Dragon Dust here. Is that a reduction version or alpha beta? I don't know. Yeah, so yeah, I see Dudeman here with the download here. I mean, it doesn't say anything about the version of the app. And then more importantly, it doesn't indicate that it's like, for example, like iOS, I think I'm either on their mailing list now. So I think the iOS is on a testing alpha phase, but I have no reason to believe any of these are not production ready. So that's, again, kind of disappointing. Okay, that to be said though, this is just one aspect of Actually, you know what? You want to test something? We could import a knowledge base. It says, oh, from. Oh, wait, you can't even. Okay, import from RemNote. After exporting it, a full JSON backup. Yeah, I bet you this is not going to do anything. Rem Garden backup. Here's my zip file. Import. Flashcards. Nothing. Yeah, it's empty. Anyhow, it's weird. Okay, but all that to say, big banner. This does not invalidate RemNote in any way, sense, or form. It just means that a specific feature that happens to be important to me, and I think a lot of the community, when it comes to telling us that you have local only knowledge bases, then it needs to deliver on some form on that. So that part, unfortunately, a little disappointing. Okay, so, but however, though, I do have faith in the team that if you're telling us that you mean for it to work a certain way. So I look forward to seeing what that implementation is, but maybe either hurry up and fix the bug or maybe take that down for now so people's expectations are set correctly. So for now, we're going to go back into RemNote itself so that we can really talk about the difference. Because again, I'm really not looking to hate on any tool or anything. Like, this is really about exploration and exploring ideas. And so, okay. With that said, let's jump into the interactive tour. Okay, this is an onboarding thing that I kind of saw when I first signed up for an account. I have not really gone through it, but the fact that I saw it, I do like this a lot because a lot of times either like apps have you like work through like a guide that you have to read through, which is totally fine for like, I wouldn't call it light reading, but you know, they say like learning is most sticky when you actually do something with it. So I like the fact that they have basically this built-in tutorial that allows you to follow through. So let's see. I come with the editor. Yep, I did a new document title. Create a bullet by clicking the grayed out bullet below the title. What are you talking about? So if I create a bullet point. Oh, this is a bullet point. Oh, they're calling every bullet point a rem. Okay, I don't know. Not crazy about that name, but okay. So every single bullet point is a rem, but I think as far as like generic note-taking terms, it is a block. It is a block that can be referenced from what I understand. Because here you can copy a link to a rem, so in other words, to a block, and then it can be, you know, basically swapped in and out. What's up, Dave? Good to see you. I hope you and the family are feeling better, but it's good to see you in the chat. Thank you so much for stopping by. All right, so here we have rems, which are bullet points, blocks. We type any text that works into rem. Done entering, press enter, press tab to indent. Great. Hey, okay, I like that firework animation. That was cool. This is my indented bullet. So, you know, for those who've used Dynalist, for example, this is actually this to me is kind of reminiscent of a Dynalist too. It's like bullet first. In fact, people are talking about Rome. Rome is, love it, Dave. I see my hiragana is getting rusty. So actually it's funny. If RemNote works out from like a flashcard perspective, I actually do think I might use it as I'm trying to figure out how to, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do about my own learning. This is part of my exploration for this. But my Japanese definitely needs some brushing up on. So having things like spaced repetition would be very, very helpful for that kind of thing. Anyhow, okay, so next skill, we want to create a flashcard. And then, here we go. This is one, what did I do? Oh, okay, create a flashcard. New document. Yep. Type the front of your card, back of your card. Yeah, I did. Okay. Oh, so I haven't done it here. So here's my flashcard. Once again, let's say, so okay, actually we're just going to use the Japanese that Dave posted in the chat. Actually, let's do it. So here I'm taking it on faith that it's nothing inappropriate. If so, I will have to scrub it later, but I trust Dave. Hisashiburi na. Okay, I should have seen that. Okay. Anyways, here we go. So yes, Hisashiburi na. So here we go. So the front of the card will be this phrase, right? And then the back, what happened to my flashcard? Flashcard, front of the card. Okay. It's been a long time. I mean, this is kind of cool that it's actually being able to detect the event of like the first one being created. Long time no see. Yes. Arigatou gozaimasu, Dave-san. Long time no see. Okay, great. And so we can preview the card by clicking the arrow symbol, which is here. Honestly, I half expected when I'm hovering to see like a preview button over here, but that's fine. Okay, cool. So we can see here, this is our flashcard. It would be a daily document. Inside of here, we learn this phrase that we can show the answer. Hisashiburi na. And then it's a basic card. This is a concept card. What is a concept card? Editing. What are you doing? Oh, it goes both ways. So if you say, what is long time no see, then I can say Hisashiburi na. Okay, that's cool. So you see that like this automation is very neat because without having to manually create two different cards that hides the concept that I'm learning, it lets me go back and forth. And I think that is a nice built-in workflow that I can very much appreciate for this, so that the data entry is once and I get to use it in ways that are intuitive to me. So the only thing is though, I'm trying to do different cards and nothing is changing. Concept card, a card representing a named idea rendered in bold. A card that describes a concept rendered in italics. I might have to read the docs on that. I'm not sure why there's a thing, but I do like the bold better, so I'm just going to call it a concept card. And so click on flashcards in your left slide bar to practice it. Okay, so we can see here in the UI. Actually, you know what? Let me bump this up a little bit. Okay, there you go. This should be easier for everyone to see. Yeah, okay. So, right. So today's point, this is a niche thing for learning, right? Flashcards. And then so nonetheless, I think it's one of those tools where like, it's just good to know, especially if you're learning like, I don't know, for example, like I have to do a deeper dive into TypeScript. So as I'm learning different concepts regarding interfaces and all the different things and nullish and whatever, it'd be good to just have like a TypeScript document that had various flashcards where if I'm trying to just quickly like remember key concepts through TypeScript, I could do that fairly easily. And once again, we see here with something like Japanese, which is like a language, that's definitely something I don't get to use a lot in a day-to-day. But if I could have that refresh every like 4 days, or if I think it's taking a long time, it'll refresh every day, this is really cool. And so I do like this a lot. And so I do have to give a shout out to the original two who kind of really made flashcards big, at least from a popularity perspective, which is Anki. And so I haven't done much with it because I think I never really got on board with the UI. I just remember the UI not like totally like pulling me in. So, but then if you're looking for a tool that's separate from RemNote, Anki is the one. And more importantly, there are Obsidian Anki integrations. I haven't really gotten a chance to play with it because I've seen that it can be a little bit buggy because you have to manage your Anki data in Anki and then and by the way, if it's Anki, I'm really sorry, but I think I'm more comfortable saying Anki at the moment. So until someone corrects me to say Anki, I'm going to say Anki for now. And then anyways, so in a perfect world to me, I would manage the flashcard directly in Obsidian rather than having this sort of Anki integration. So I probably should honestly just do like, now that I'm kind of like bought in, to be honest, like having seen that interaction, I'm bought into this. I love this. I'd love to see if there's a good way to do this in Obsidian right now. That is what I'm considering. Cassidy in the chat, do I say aunt or aunt? I think I say aunt actually. I think I mostly say aunt. Aunt. No, I think I mostly say aunt actually, which is kind of funny. But for some reason, I like Anki better than Anki. It's like I think I have to do too much work to like make my mouth go vertical. Ways. Yes, auntie. Yes, I would definitely say auntie and not auntie. Wow, that's incredibly inconsistent on my part. But yes, I think I'd say like, Aunt Jennifer. I wouldn't say Aunt Jennifer, but I would say Auntie Jennifer. That I've done. Yeah, that I've done. This is very. I wonder. I imagine there's someone in linguistics who's like done research into this, but that is hilarious that I have these go-tos that are completely different, even though they're like, you would think from etymology perspective, like origins and that kind of stuff, consistent. I'm clearly not. I'm very much auntie and aunt. Yeah, auntie. No, I say auntie. Gosh. You know what though? Actually, if I'm going to hypothesize, maybe it's because I grew up with parents who didn't speak English as a first language. And maybe my inconsistency comes from like the way they pronounced it. So that actually might explain some of it. Because funny anecdote y'all get to learn about is that growing up for the longest time, we thought that when you would order eggs, when you want to order them sunny side up, we thought it was sunny shine up for the longest time. So I'll say that a little slower. Sunny shine up. And I think it was about like 20 years of saying like, oh, I'll have my eggs sunshine up. And my poor younger brother, I think we were at an IHOP when the waitress is like staring at him and like, sunny shine up? He's like, yeah, I'll make sunny shine up. And she's like, you mean sunny side up? Anyways, it was, we will never forget it. So anyways, was of growing up with parents who don't speak English as a first language. But again, this is obviously joking in a lovingly way. So Connor here with the question, pop, Coke, soda. I say soda. And then I say tennis shoes, not. I sometimes say sneakers, mostly tennis shoes. But anyways. All right, so let's switch back to here. So what we got here is we have the beginnings of our flashcard, and we can see here, this is cool. You've hit your daily target for 1 day in a row. Okay, does this mean that I have a way of setting my flashcard setting somewhere? Gameplay audio. Ooh, you have the ability to type in the answer rather than merely just having it appear. This is cool. I like that. That's especially good for engagement on things that you really want to make sticky, so that it's not just like sort of like flashing in and out of concepts. Oh my god. I see. McFluffies. I think they should be rebranded Refluffies. I think your friend was onto something, Cassidy. You know, McFlurries are cool, but McFluffies, that's where it's at. Ah, I see Nunchi here. I thought it was hash brownie. That means very different things now that we're older, but that is really funny, Nunchi. Gosh, I think I said grilled cheese instead of grilled cheese as a kid. Yeah, language is a funny thing, honestly. It really is. Okay, so we can see here, oh, there's neat little like configurations. So cute dogs to show hitting your target, show rem with short names in large font. Sure, let's make it a little bit more accessible. Speed stats, sure. What are speed stats? Show me that. Maximum card response time. I'm assuming this is in minutes, but to the developer out there, give me some sort of unit here. At least even in the description, it doesn't have to be directly to the right of the input. Daily target, sure. Okay, that's fine. So if I click on flashcards, there you go. Hisashi Burina. So now that I've had that chance to talk with Dave, now it's a long time no see. So we can show the answer. That's good. And so let's say I got it wrong. So I say I forgot how to do it. So then this means that I can get out, and then I clearly have 1 in the queue. So if I open this and then Hisashi Burina, that means long time no see. Great, I remember immediately. Hey, okay. I do like this. This is cute. Having a animated GIF of puppies when I'm done reviewing my target of cards, that is pretty sweet. Not gonna lie. So definitely a nice, pleasant DX, or not, I guess pleasant UX on that matter. Let's see. Oh, I see here from Dudeman, RemNote supports custom CSS. Okay, that's good to know. So customization is definitely a really big piece when it comes to note-taking things. So let me see. Let me take a break from flashcard things. Let's see. Editor options, maybe. Here we go. Timestamp formatting, enable templates for knowledge. I wonder what this is all about. I don't think we're going to have time for that. Keyboard shortcuts. Okay, this is cool. Can I customize them? I can customize them. Excellent. Oh, I did not expect to get removed from my settings. Okay, that's good. I'm happy they have this here. Sidebar notification labs. Queue cluster. Huh. Okay, tags collection. Include hierarchy. Popular plugins. Okay, this is neat. Again, I think this is more common with software we're seeing these days. They're actually like letting you, built-in word clouds. That's cool. I do like that, but I'm not going to try any of those at the moment. Where are we going to see custom CSS? I would have assumed it's in like interface. Here we go. I was right. Interface, expand documents, full width of screen. This is something that I think Notion does really well, where you can actually customize the full width of a document based on the specific document you're looking at. Because a lot of times, I would say, at least my opinion, most of the time it's nice to have it constrained to that sort of ideal 70 to 80 character width that, if you didn't know, is supposed to be like roughly the ideal reading width. So that for scannability, because when it's too long, your eyes basically have to manually travel much longer left to right. So I think it's 70 to 80 characters. That's kind of that rough ideal width. But sometimes though, that's not the point. The point of view is not reading a passage. If it's not reading a passage, maybe it's nicer to have the full width. So again, the fact that they have the customization here is nice. It just would be nice to do at the page level, because I imagine as you're learning, you probably would have preferences. There is a dark mode. Okay, nice. Let me just see what it looks like in here. Fairly simple from like a dark mode perspective. It's got all of that, but having been on the stream before and we've talked about this, dark mode is not for everyone. So I'm going to turn it back to light mode so that we can at least everyone can see with the right amount of contrast. In case their dark mode doesn't have the right contrast for colors and stuff, the last thing I want is for this video to be inaccessible to people. So we're back on light mode. All right, so we have our settings. Okay. I think that's that. Actually, you know what I want to check out though? The knowledge graph. What is that? Is this what I'm thinking it is? Why can't I see knowledge graph? Oh, that's disappointing. You don't have enough rem or cards. You'll be able to see stats like how much you've grown over time, how much time you spend in your queue. Okay, so they're abstracting some statistics regarding how you've been using RemNote. I'm okay. I'm okay with this. Actually, it's kind of interesting. I wish I could see it. Like, I know if I were on the team for this, I think it would be nice to show people what's possible. So while to motivate them, because at this point I have no idea as a user what statistics really means. So if they could be like, here is a sample, like click here to see okay. So one confusion people might have if we actually integrated it directly in the dashboard is that people might think this is actually a reflection of their actual app. So rather than do that, I feel like at least having a link to show what statistics might look like for an app that has enough REMs and cards and that kind of stuff, I think that would be very useful for basically motivation. And then to make it even stickier is that I'm assuming they're gonna have a fixed layout for the graphs and that kind of stuff, in the sense that like it's not a customizable dashboard. At least I would be surprised if you could just like add specific graphs and resize them. I imagine there's like a basic template, right? And if there is a basic template, I think it would be kind of neat to show like a grayed out version of it below to be like, hey, you're gonna like fill this in. I think that would be motivating. But anyways, oh, okay, here we go. So Dudeman here. Let's see. Graph view is a pro feature. Okay, that's good to know. And I'm on the web version. Oh, does the desktop one do a better job of this? So I go here, knowledge graph. Oh, that's a bummer. Yeah. Okay. Well, honestly, for most of us here who are doing Obsidian or have done other ones, knowledge graphs are based, actually, in case you don't do the Obsidian stuff, this is basically like the knowledge graph, right? Which is the ability to see how your ideas relate over time. I know that some people basically say that this is mostly for visual effects, but at the same time, like delight is an absolutely an aspect of things, right? It's why people keep things organized. It's something visually appealing. And so being able to see your graph grow and more importantly, hopefully filter down and see kind of stuff, it can be useful for that sort of visual navigation of information. So Jimena, thanks for the shout out. I appreciate it. I did see a question here from Dave. Can you share or subscribe to people's flashcards? Like, could I build you a Japanese quiz? Ooh, that's a great question. Actually, you know what? It's funny. To me, if you have a cloud syncing service, I would hope you'd be able to actually share, but maybe I'm being a little optimistic because RemNote might not be ready for that. So you can practice REMs. You can change the document status to pin finish. You can share. You can make it public. Okay. So then, okay. So let's test this real quick. Let's call this Obsidian test or quiz, right? And then, oh, it's interesting. You can actually tackle the very specific things. Whatever. I'll call it with programming. Although, okay, I'm gonna say this again and again if you're building a list of checklists, which I already know it's fairly complicated. Like there's a complexity to managing all these checkboxes and that kind of stuff. That's fine. But please, if you can, and this is why frameworks come into play, like give me a way to filter it down. I shouldn't have to scroll through all of this to see if something I'm looking for exists. Like if you've gone through the effort of rendering this list, which I imagine is some sort of looped item that you have like a JSON for, I would hope that you can then create some sort of, again, view, we call them computer properties, where based on that reactive data, then we can like, based on what the user types, it will filter that list down. Like, please, I think this should be part of anytime a list is more than like, basically like if I have to scroll, you probably need a filter. That's all I'm going to say. Okay. That's my mini rant. Okay. Let's go out programming and writing. Let's click share. Okay, so this clearly doesn't have very much. Can I go back to the source document? Let me go to source document. All right, so let me go Obsidian quiz. And then let's just try this out real quick. So let's do a flashcard. What is a knowledge graph? And then we can be like, it's a cool data viz. And then what else can we say? Can you customize hotkeys on Obsidian? Oh, I did not make this a flashcard. Okay, there we go. Okay, that was clean. I like that. Yes. Okay, so now that's all I'm going to do. We're going to go ahead and reshare this. Share it. Okay, I'm going to copy this, drop it in the Twitch channel. So for those watching on the recording later, I'm going to go ahead and drop the link in the resources, but cannot guarantee this will stay up forever because, again, it's just sort of like a prototype. So yeah, just anyways. So it's interesting. So now I'm assuming this is what anyone can see. So the way I'll test this, because I know that's a lot, like people might not have time to be looking at this right now. I went incognito. I'm not logged in. It looks like we can see this quiz. And then it says, hey, can you customize keys in Obsidian? And so I would say, so let's say I said, no, show the answer. Oh, shoot, that was wrong. Okay, so I'll say forgotten. Oh, neat. And then it'll actually scroll through the next one. What is a knowledge graph? Okay, so a knowledge graph is a cool data visualization. Show. Hey, okay, so then I can say I recalled it with some effort. So remind me in 24 hours. And then, oh, okay, I already forgot it, so it has me remember this. Can I customize hotkeys in Obsidian? Yes, I can. So now this time I fully this is cool. We just saw this in action now. The time spans have changed. So there is at least some sort of like basic logic happening underneath that says if you forgot something immediately, that when you now are able to recall it immediately, it actually adjusts the time frame so that it'll actually basically become useful to you from like an editing, from a remembering perspective. And I love this because, again, at least I'm going on a bit of faith here, and at least some of my research, like there is research that goes behind these time spans that they're choosing. So since I'm not an expert in sort of these space learning and this sort of learning, I'm not an expert in the field of learning, right? I love to teach and I love to learn about it, but I'm not like immersed in this 24/7. So the fact that someone else is spending the time to figure this out, I am putting my faith in the fact that, like, for example, it makes sense. If I forgot whether or not customized hotkeys in Obsidian existed on the first time, then it means that, like, if I recalled it later on, then, like, yeah, remind me tomorrow rather than remind me in 4 days because I clearly forgot the first time around. So absolutely love this. This is great. I see here from Nunchi. Does the flashcards have the options of electrically shocking you if you get it wrong? You know, it's really funny. I immediately brings to mind my coworker Charlie Gerard, and so I wonder if she could like do something where like, I wonder if RemNote has like an API that you could like hook up where if it's wrong, it like hooks up to like a Raspberry Pi that shocks you. Honestly, it's not the worst idea ever as long as it's done with a good amount of fun. And honestly, physical feedback, there's a reason why, like some games, like, you know, when something blows up in the game, your controller vibrates, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Just, you know, obviously done in a healthy, safe way. Anyhow, so actually, it's funny enough, this is a long-winded sort of experiment, but to Dave's question, it looks like you can actually then copy this actually to your account. So Dave, I don't think we can subscribe in the sense that like whenever you update it, I automatically feed in the new one. But at least to me, this is the MVP version of like, I spent this time to create this thing that I think might be helpful to other people. Take with it what you will. And so in this regard, it's a little bit like open source, right? Like, hey, I built a library. Here you go. Do with it what you will. If you want updates later on, make sure to get pull. That's kind of what I feel. And so, yeah, to Dave's point, copying is probably adequate enough to have those things. So this to me is probably one of RemNote's biggest selling points, is that I do feel feel the reusability of me spending the time. So for example, as I'm going through and learning more about D3, as I learn more about TypeScript, and I'm learning it for the first time, odds are the things I'm learning about are probably really helpful for other people to sort of go through and practice their knowledge too, if they're also on a similar journey. So if I spend the time to create the flashcards, don't get me wrong, creating the flashcards in and of themselves, actually it's great for the engagement piece of it. But in the event that like you're just trying to see and run through your knowledge and you don't have time for that, then I could totally share this as a resource with other people. And so, Dave has an interesting point here. Employee onboarding. This is a great point, right? Like, what do people have different questions about certain things that you want them to remember, right? So there are certain workflows that you might want to be like, okay, where do you go for this thing, right? You know, like, where do you want to go to file expenses? That's actually something that might seem like something you can refer to later on, but I think as anyone who's had a job before and who didn't file expenses for like 6 months, and then you're suddenly looking like, if it's not documented well somewhere, you're kind of like, I'm just not going to file the expenses. Too much work. So yeah, I mean, this is what I think I like. This is probably what is going to sell me on RemNote, at least from the flashcard perspective, the learning perspective, because in the worst case of scenario, actually, so if we go back, go back. So let me go back to the source document. Right now, what we have here is, what is this here? If I copy this, I'm actually really curious. So if I go in here and I call it, if I inside of Obsidian and I manually create my own file, right? Let's just say I'm willing to go to this extent, which I actually don't think is that. What happened? Okay, there you go. Everything's good. Ooh, okay. That's a very clean copy paste. Now the question is though, if I copy it back in, will that work? That's the question. Enter, enter. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yep, the symbol changes to show which side you want it to do the cart. This is a great pattern. Again, I don't know if Anki has been doing this already, but you know, I'll give credit where I can see right now. So my hat's off to RemNote for this pattern. This is neat because what they've ultimately done, if we're seeing here, is they've designed a markdown or text, not even markdown, a text first pattern where it can then be parsed and then abstracted out into its useful UI, which is the flashcard that we've been playing around with. That is very, very cool. So now I'm a little less concerned with RemNote's like local, because what I could do at the bare minimum is, even though, like, for example, it is unlikely, at least with the level of local support that I see here, local like only support, it's unlikely I would buy into RemNote in its entirety as like my digital garden personal knowledge management system. And the reason is very simple. Like, I clearly, even in this short prototype, could not really prove that I own the data from the very beginning till end. Obsidian, it's been proved, like I can easily prove that because the markdown files are there in plain English. That's great. But again, I will probably end up having an episode on how to maybe do this in Obsidian, depending on how easy or hard it is. But this means that I could use this to build all my flashcard things and then create resources that I can share with people that I don't have to go build out myself. And that, to me, that is very exciting. So let's go ahead and see. Let's see. Recall answer, press show. I did that actually. Wait, what? Click on flashcards on the left sidebar. Show answer. Pause, recall answer, then click show. Then select the emoji that represents how you represent content. I represent it immediately. Nice. Great. Yeah, so Connor here with the question, can you preview how you would do it in Obsidian? So right now, let me just do a quick mention actually. So there is a flashcard here for Obsidian. So it looks like here they allow you, wait, where's the card itself? Generate cards for current file. Oh, interesting. You actually have to generate it. And then, oh, there's a whole UI for this? Oh, that seems like too much work for me. But I mean, there's clearly, 234 people have started, so not insignificant. It's just I want something a little bit cleaner, where I don't have to like exit to a full UI. It's kind of like the RemNote thing, right? I kind of just want to click into it and try it, or I want to click into it and then like move on. So for me personally, that UX flow is not very enticing to me. But anyhow, Connor, like I said, I'll do some research, and honestly, to be very clear, I will give it an actual like concerted effort to try it out. So I'll add it probably to like one of the topics for the productivity power hours, and then we'll try out what this flashcard workflow is like in Obsidian. But again, the benefit, at least with the RemNote that I'm seeing here, is to Dave's point, the shareability. So being able to tell people like, hey, you want to test your TypeScript knowledge? Like, here's what I think. Here's a like little flash card quiz for the fundamentals of TypeScript, right? Fundamentals of Vue. So, okay, I have to ask, dude, man, what is the SRS integration here? Okay, hold on. SRS. Nope. I don't know what the SRS acronym. I probably do, but for some reason the acronym is not ringing a bell for me. Anyhow, if you can let me know what SRS is, would appreciate it. Great. Okay. So I think, see, is there anything else? Oh yeah. What else is there? Let's see. Okay, so this is why I have the post-it notes, so I can see what I can't see, what y'all can't see. So create flashcards directly from images, create powerful flashcards by breaking down ideas. Oh, okay, this is something I want to see. All right. So they have, the idea of concept and descriptors. Let's learn about this real quick. So let's create a concept. So concept is something that has a name and a definition. Okay, so a great example of this then, we can say turn into a concept. So what if we say space repetition, okay, and then double colon, then a one-line summary or definition. So I can say the practice of space are creating intervals of time between learned items in order to increase stickiness and application. I don't know, let's just call it that. Okay, so I created a concept. Click on the end of your concept and press enter to create a new rem. Click tab to indent. Great. Create a descriptor. What is a descriptor? To describe the content. So in other words, a color. So type a prompt, then type answer. So size, oh, this is interesting. Okay. So I could just be like, what industry does it apply to, right? I had just got to come up with something. It deals with education. And then who inspired me to learn about this? Jade. Shout out to Jade for honestly inspiring this whole thing. So I'll give her one more shout out at the end of this. Okay, so we have these two things, descriptors, concepts. Okay, so this is already, actually, this goes a step further in the concept of cards, because now you're not even just saying like, I'm just doing like an index card front and back. I'm talking about like a specific concept that then has like meta property that I want to test out. So this is kind of interesting. So let's create a few different delimiters. Okay, so basic card is greater than. Concept card is double or double colon. Descriptor is double semicolon. And then multi-line card is above any and then enter. Okay. So I've reviewed those. How do I check this off? No. Don't. Why? This is my card, my back of card. Nope, it won't let me check it off. Frustrating. The completionist in me desperately wants to click that, but alas, I can't. So you know what? Actually, no, hang on. The web developer in me is coming out. You don't want to let me click it. I'll make it happen. Actually, can I do it? Data sci. I don't know. This is a guess. It sounds like they're using Checkbox. Sounds like they're using Cypress for testing. Can I? Nope. Oh, did they draw the checkbox? Is not an input? Oh, what? I'm a little surprised. I thought there would at least be like an input that I could then... Okay, I question accessibility a little bit. Well, I guess if it's not a true form, though, you're not really checking it off. So I take that back. Okay, so I can't check it. I can't force it. So actually, I have no idea how to complete this step. So sad panda for that one. All right, but I'm actually curious. So now that I have descriptors and concepts, I'm curious how that looks in the flashcard realm. So, okay, so can you customize short keys? Yes, I can. I did that. What is a knowledge graph? Yes. Oh, for everything. Wait. Interesting. Okay, whatever. Wait. Immediately. Okay, space repetition. Space repetition is the idea of like space-time intervals. Okay, let's say I partially recalled it. What industry? Oh, okay. I like this. I like this a lot. Okay, so let's see. It's education. I immediately recalled it. Where's my other descriptor? Oh, sure. What is the practice of creating intervals? Oh, so now it's testing me on the backwards part of it. So this way it tests you both the forward and back. I like this. See, this is the kind of stuff where I don't have to spend the time to program this. This is great. Space repetition, great. I did it immediately. Wait, where was the other descriptor? Who inspired me to learn this? Yeah, why didn't this show up earlier? I'm a little surprised. Oh, I think it's because I hit some sort of quota. All right, that wasn't immediately intuitive to me. I should have had a way to set that up. Anyways, so Jade, yay, recalled that immediately. Excellent. Okay, I practiced all my cards. Woo, look at that, fireworks. I like it. Well done to the team. Okay, create more cards. No, I'm not going to create any more cards. All right, so I see here convict x93, finish all the cards in the table. Okay, I did this. So you're saying that, I mean, I did the concept card. This is my, okay, so what's another concept we can talk about? We can say linked thinking, colon, the idea of connecting ideas and not being bound by folder directories. I mean, that was my double colon descriptor who taught me this term. And then this will be Nick Milo. Yeah, I think I've created all of them with the shortcuts. So this, like the basic card was this one. This was the concept card. That was the descriptor. Unless they're trying to have me do multi-line cards for every single one, but that's not, at least not immediately intuitive to me, at the bare minimum. So yeah, but like the what, any of the above plus enter. Okay, so here, multi-line concept dot enter. Whoa, what was that? Oh, I know what that was. Sorry, that was an emoji. So dot enter back of the card here, and this for the back of the card, and then new descriptor, this idea. Okay, so that's nice because now you can see that these are like inline. These are inline. This is multi-line. So we can see here there are 3 different concepts. Back of the card here, show answer here. Okay, I'll have to figure that out. But then this means I can do multi-line cards here. Bum, bum, bum. Nope. That didn't work. Enter. Mult is a card. Although again, if they're expecting me to create one for every single one, I gotta say, this is not what I would have expected. I would have expected a checklist then for each one. Multi-line, hello. Yeah, no, I've done a bunch of multi-line cards and stuff. This is way too much effort for this checkbox. Okay, yeah, so convex point must be a bug. Well, with that said, I think we've done actually a pretty nice deep dive through the RemNote. Again, I'm glad that we went through and took the time to take a look at, really, at least to me, the most unique aspect of RemNote, which is the sort of ease at which you can create cards, and then the way they let you help you transition back and forth, and then between like learning different concepts. So again, like you make it back and forth, you can do descriptors. This is very, very cool. I do like this a lot. And so I think if you ask me honestly, actually, I'll do that in the final thoughts. And then we also got the chance to check out like concepts, descriptors. This is great. So with that, let's switch on over to the camera for final thoughts as we get ready. So let me go ahead and switch us on over. Okay. Well, with that, that is a wrap for RemNote today. And so it's honestly, I'm pretty happy with RemNote. There are clearly some aspects in terms of my personal workflow that I wouldn't find RemNote a great fit for, but I know that one of the things I try to avoid is tool fragmentation, but there are some times where, frankly, we make the best of what we have. And at least for now, until I find an easy way to do it in Obsidian that doesn't require a lot of effort, this to me is like, at least what I could see myself doing is if I'm taking notes on a course as I'm going through. So like I'm doing Shirley Wu's D3 course on front-end masters right now. As she's talking about different functions of D3 that I find interesting, what I actually want to be able to do is actually basically do flashcards. So I'll be like, oh, D3.min-max. That allows me to give me like an array of like the minimum value of the data versus the max. Like, and then to have that kind of be easily like just like bulleted down. And then when I want to review my D3 notebook to be like, hey, like what were these things? What were the functions? I think RemNote makes it really easy for me to do that in a way I don't have to actually think that hard about it. And then now that we've learned about concepts and descriptors, this also means easy to kind of nest concepts as well. Cause it'd be like, well, I might do descriptors to the D3 min max to be like, when would I use this? And be like, this is for, call it like data querying, right? And for that reason, I do think RemNote is probably going to enter my toolkit from a studying perspective. The key thing about this though, being that I will go ahead and take what's inside of RemNote and then copy it over to Obsidian so that I do have a true local copy for myself. And that way, worst case scenario, if RemNote ever disappears, I still have the general concept, as you can see, of like these forms and all this stuff and the structure to make it easy. Because again, even if I copy this thing, that's a multi-line concept. Oh, that one doesn't copy as well. Again, that's a small price to pay. Anyhow, so again, all the resources that we talked about today, as far as like RemNote and any resources that were brought up, will be linked down in the show notes. And so also, if you ever have any questions or that kind of stuff, be sure to leave a comment. Again, this will be posted on YouTube. So for those watching, thanks so much for sticking around all this time. Any questions, comments, or topics you want me to see talk about in a future episode, I'm more than happy to take suggestions. And then once again, I'll put that in the schedule queue so you can actually see when I'm talking about what. So in case you can't come to every single one just to find out what's happening, now you'll actually be able to see in advance what I'll be talking about. And so for anyone looking to attend live, you can check out the schedule at www.benkozan.io/schedule. So thanks again to everyone for hanging out today. It's been an absolute blast getting to explore RemNote with you. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week and weekend. And with that, I will talk to you all later. Bye-bye.